It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. From Tracks TV, this is Good Morning Tatooine!
Good morning, Tatooine indeed. We're back once again with your weekly Star Wars and Lucasfilm coverage. I'm Brian Cameron, and with me as always, my colleague from fantatracks.com, Mr. Paul Naylor.
Hello there, Brian. How are you?
Really good. It's been a good week. We've been celebrating Halloween.
And, of course, 7 years of Fantatracks.
7 years of Fantatracks. Just every time you say that, the fireworks go off.
They're not just for bonfire night. Fantatracks is forever.
Yeah, 7 lovely years. You've been here from the start, Paul.
Yes. It's gone very quickly, hasn't it?
It has indeed. Doesn't feel like 7 years. Still remember.
No, probably because of COVID, but
yeah, I still remember the final panic, trying to get everything in place for launch day. I think we finished it the day before.
I can remember the panic in the conversations that we were having. Yeah, definitely. But that's gone in a blink of an eye, and we've done such a lot in those 7 years. We'll have to do a recap on that at some point.
Oh, I know. We because we started posting before we launched, because obviously you need launch content.
That's
so we
right.
posted news for about 2 weeks as it happened, like as we do every day. So we were still building the site whilst uploading content, so it was like exciting times.
I went to a show in Stoke, and the young lad that plays Ezra Bridger was there.
Yes.
Taylor Gray.
Taylor Gray.
Oh, can you give a shout out to Fantatracks? We hadn't even launched, and then he did a recording for it, so that was brilliant.
Yeah, fun times. Still fun times. Every single day, if you're looking for Star Wars news, we're covering it all.
Absolutely.
Every single aspect of the fandom, and anything happening at Lucasfilm as well.
Yeah. There's plenty going on.
We've got a whole load of content tonight to go over as well, so let's see what's coming up. Oh, we've lost service.
No.
What's gone wrong? Technology.
We got nothing going on.
What do I do? What have we got coming up, Paul?
We've got the latest Star Wars figures from Hasbro that were revealed at MCM. So there's some really nice sculpts coming up of figures from Attack of the Clones. So we've got some Jedi, and we've also got a rather nice looking Sebulba from Episode 1. So that's all good and to look forward to.
Lots of nice things. Whilst I try and boot this software back up, you'll tell us a little bit.
Want me to carry on talking?
Yeah, you just carry on talking whilst I pause.
I'll carry on. You do that in the background.
Yeah.
So
let me move over here whilst I try and fix things.
Yeah. I'll just carry on. Mark Newbold, feel free to chip in. So we've also got a piece on Doug Chiang that you're going to lead on, Brian. So Doug's just recently been given some sort of an award, I believe.
Yeah, he's just had a Lifetime Achievement Award from Creative Arts. Yeah. Definitely my software's not going to work, so I'm going to have to do it a different way tonight. So bear with me whilst I boot things up. You can tell that we're live.
Yeah. Well, just don't worry. It's all good. It's all good. These things happen, you know. So what were we going to look at in Jabba's Court, right?
So Jabba's Court, we're going to be talking about John Williams. Obviously, his new documentary's out, and we were planning on talking about who we would like to lead on music in the future for Star Wars, because obviously we need someone to take on the role of composer for future Star Wars projects.
And not only future Star Wars projects, but anything that might happen in the Indiana Jones universe or countless countless sort of properties that he's associated with. I've started watching the documentary. It's fascinating. And the love that he and Steven Spielberg have got for each other, it's palpable. I mean, they are really they don't work very well without each other. In fact, I don't think they've ever worked without each other anyway. Every single thing Steven Spielberg has done has had Johnny Williams associated with it. And we're back. We waffled through it, and we got it back. You landed it.
Yeah. even Jonathan, he's in the comments. He's not making fun of us. Mr. Newbold is. This will be remembered for the next 7 years. So this is what we're talking about. As we stumbled through there, the technology broke. We will be talking MCM London Comic Con, and we've got all the photos from the Hasbro booth and the new releases. Yep,
and then we've got Doug Chiang and the Lifetime Achievement Award at the Concept Art Awards, which I'm not familiar with that one. Are you?
No, it's not one. It's an exclusive event. Ticket. As we mentioned, Jabba's Court. We'll be looking at who should Lucasfilm turn to as composer for future movie soundtracks.
Well, I mean, obviously there have been a couple of films which weren't John Williams led, but it's definitely massive shoes to fill. Then, of course, Skeleton Crew has just recently had its final trailer released, and I must admit, I'm getting a bit excited about it now. It's looking pretty good.
Yeah, we've got the trailer we'll show you, and the key art as well. And Jude Law's also been talking Skeleton Crew. He's made a comment, who says I've got the Force? Well, initially Lucasfilm, and then they showed us in the trailer you using the Force, but we'll debate his comments later in the show.
And then John Watts has something to say about all that as well. So that'll be interesting. Yeah. And then, of course, we've got the sad news that we lost Greg Hildebrandt earlier this week as well.
Yeah, very sad indeed. Obviously, we lost his brother as well previously. So both amazing talents and both such a fundamental part of the launch of Star Wars as well. So very sad news indeed.
And then we'll finish off with something that's very much in your ball court, Brian, which is looking at a raft of latest books that have come out.
Yeah, so Star Wars InkStone Books have got some exclusive editions coming out. We'll be checking all of them out. Yeah. And that's the rundown for tonight's show. It's
as long as the technology holds up, that's what we'll do.
We should probably head straight into the news whilst things are working.
I don't think anybody noticed. I think it's all good.
Nobody noticed. So, straight up, Hasbro had a booth at MCM Comic Con last weekend.
It certainly did.
Part of that, they revealed 5 new products, all now available for pre-order, and we can check some of them out.
Now, this is a great character. I mean, Sebulba finally released in the Black Series. My one criticism of this, Bri, is the way that they've packaged it, and I can understand why they've done it because of the complexities of the way the character walks on his hands and sort of holds things with his feet. But that side-on pro sort of packaging, very reminiscent of what they did with Power Droid back in 1979, does mean that you're not really looking at the character in the same way as you look at most of the action figures in the Black Series. But nonetheless, very much looking forward to seeing that one on the shelves. And the fact that you can take his little flight helmet off is very reminiscent of like a World War II sort of fighter pilot. That's cool that you can remove that. But yeah, what do you make of that sculpt, Brian?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you because when you look at the image on the right, it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
When you look at it in the box, where a lot of collectors are going to keep it in the box. It's a little bit,
It's a bit static, isn't it? A bit, but still, a great sculpt.
I don't know how else you would do it, though. I do agree with you. It's a tough one.
Yeah, they'd probably have to give it a deeper box or sort of stretch his arms, stroke legs out, and I don't know. It's great figure. That is an amazing sculpt. That is spot on. So we're finally getting some more Jedi from the prequels, and to be honest, that looks exactly like how the character was portrayed in the film. Really, really good sculpt.
And fantastic looking clothing as well.
Soft goods are really good, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah. And then
Couple of
Shakti looking fantastic. I mean,
close-up
the
shot there.
eyes. Yeah, everything about that figure is absolutely spot on. And again, the soft goods clothing, really, really cleverly done. I mean, I'm a little bit out of the Black Series now, but some of these they're so good. I'm very tempted. Yeah, yeah, Luminar is absolutely amazing, Mark. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is a good choice for
Don't think
the
shown
beating.
at that MCM show. It wasn't on the booth, but revealed online.
But this one here,
Yeah.
yeah. Now this is obviously because we've got the E-wing about to be released. I think that's what it is. It's the E-wing, I think. And that comes packaged with a droid that is lovingly based on the original Kenner stroke Palitoy R2D2 from back in the day. So it comes with the droid. So you need the pilot. So here we go. We've got the pilot who you can buy separately and put into that fighter. Great flight suit. Good that you can remove the helmet, and the helmet's really nice and detailed. I don't know if you can actually buy that helmet yet. I'm sure it'll be one that will be released in the wearable helmet line that they do. But yeah, that's a cracking sculpt.
And last but not least, Orasing
Yeah.
from the Phantom
Yeah.
Menace.
The only tricky thing here, of course, is trying to do the antenna or whatever it is that protrudes from her head. Obviously, for to make the figure robust so it doesn't break, that's going to be a lot thicker than it otherwise would have been. But other than that, the sculpt is brilliant. Yeah, really, really clever stuff.
I don't know, but the arms look a little bit weird for me.
Do you think they look a bit long?
Yes.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, looking at it there, perhaps, but still a great sculpt.
Good evening, Jack. Good to have you
Hi,
in the
Jack.
live stream. Yeah.
Just called us leg ends.
Yeah. So that's all the new releases announced at MCM. So there's an interesting range of characters coming out over the next 6 months.
Mm. A
Anyone
lot of
that
this,
you would be picking up?
like I say, those Black Series Jedi, they look absolutely superb. I want to see those in person. But yeah, Luminar, yeah, absolutely, Jonathan. That's a fantastic sculpt. Just looks spot on. Looks like it's been lifted from the film. So who knows? This could be a route back into Black Series collecting for me. Oh no, poor bank account. Oh, dear.
Definitely a lot of enthusiasm for their prequel trilogy releases.
Yeah. Well, of course, I mean, there's a significant anniversary next year, isn't there? So for the Revenge of the Sith. So yeah, no doubt they'll go big on that in Japan, but also in other territories. So it'd be nice to see some sort of ships and things being released at a scale to the figures from that era. Maybe, Obi-Wan and Anakin's Starfighter from the start of the film. Those would be good to see. Or maybe something for Grievous, because I mean they've already got the sculpt for the Grievous figure, so maybe something to go with that. Yeah, it looks really cool, Mark.
Every single pod racer will release one figure.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, back in the day, they did release quite a few of them, didn't they? I can remember seeing Ben Quadranaris on a peg. I think he got another character with him. So it's a shame they don't do the same sort of deep dives that they used to do for the Power of the Force. You used to get some real good sort of background characters. The turnaround of Star Wars projects these days perhaps doesn't lend itself to that. Although, as we've said in the past, sometimes they're so far behind, does it really matter? I mean, we're still getting stuff coming out now from the Book of Boba Fett and whatever else. So, yeah, maybe it's not such a concern.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there really wasn't there? Yeah, yeah.
Moving on in the
Yeah.
news, talking of the prequel trilogy, its lead designer. Doug Chiang, he's picked up a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Concept Art Awards in Pasadena just at the end of October there. Some career that Doug's got, and he's still there leading the line for Star Wars at Lucasfilm.
Yeah. Nice guy as well. We've both met him. I think you've probably had more of an in-depth chat with him than I had, but I did fleetingly meet him at the last London Star Wars celebration of the year.
Yeah.
And he's just such a nice guy, real giving of his time. And yeah.
I had a Jedi Master ticket for celebration for Germany.
Right.
He was one of the two guests. The other guest being Mr. Filoni. So these were the two guys that we met, was Mr. Chiang and Mr. Filoni in the meet and greets. So I got my picture taken with them. Something signed. I can't remember what. It's going to be in my collection room somewhere. I must look it out. I think it was a poster of some kind, but I can't remember what.
Probably of one of the Naboo starfighters or something like that.
Quite possibly.
Whenever I think of Doug, I always think of the Naboo starfighter, because I think in the making of the Phantom Menace, you see him talking about how that evolved, how that whole look from Naboo evolved, and how, because it was sort of he sort of worked back from Star Wars 25, 30 years and came up with this idea of something that was a bit more sleeker, a bit more sort of 40s, 50s inspired, plus throwing a little bit of sort of Art Deco. And he put a lot of thought into the look of the Phantom Menace, and everybody loves the Naboo starfighter. I certainly do. And when it then turned up in Mandalorian or the Book of Boba Fett, I think it first turned up in, that was a real joy to see that again, albeit a bit more stripped down and beaten up. So he's a good designer. He deserves his award.
The Mr. Newbold making a comment there, is pod racer artwork on the cover of the art episode 1 sticks in his mind.
Yeah. You forget exactly how many things he was involved with. I mean, he really did design the look of the prequels, which probably a lot of people at the time probably thought doesn't really fit in with the original Star Wars, but you watch it now and it flows. He knew what he was doing. Really good stuff.
Whilst he's still at Lucasfilm, obviously John Williams, now pretty much retired, it's fair to say. Documentary out on Disney Plus this past week. So we can head over to Jabba's court, because we're going to debate, who does Lucasfilm get to replace John Williams?
Yeah.
So this week on Jabba's Court, we're asking the question, as the documentary Music by John Williams is released, who does Lucasfilm turn to as composer for its movie soundtracks? Paul, have you got an idea in mind of where Lucasfilm should turn to?
Talk about putting me on the spot.
Or is it just a case you can't replace John Williams, and so movie by movie you need to find the right composer for that individual particular movie?
I think that's exactly the answer that I was going to come up with. I think the greatest honor that you can bestow upon John Williams is the fact that he is irreplaceable. So it probably is better just to have a different composer working on each individual sort of TV show or film. Obviously, if there's a series of films, you will want some sort of continuity. So if, for example, they announced that they were doing episodes 10, 11, and 12, and that John wasn't going to be associated with it, pick a composer and let them work on that project on all three films. But generally speaking, if it's an individual film or an individual TV series, swap it around. Let's get some different people doing different things. I have started watching the documentary. It's only because of lack of time I've not been able to finish watching it, but it's fascinating stuff. his relationship with Steven Spielberg particularly strong and shown as being a very close creative and working partnership. And Steven Spielberg and George Lucas both say in the documentary, the music makes up half of the film. It's not just the visuals. The music is so essential. It's not just there as background music. It is a huge part of each film or TV show. What do you think, Brian? Would you want to replace him with just one given person?
I don't think so. I think his music is going to be part of Star Wars forever.
Yeah.
Even if you bring in another composer, it's going to have John Williams themes throughout. Or
it's going to be cues, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
But then you've seen like Kevin Kiner on the animation, who has really excelled and made that something that's his own. So I think it is possible for talent to come in and really stamp a mark.
Yeah. I think so. But I think with John Williams, I mean, outside of Star Wars, and when you watch the documentary, you're reminded of so many things that you'd probably forgotten that he was involved with, or even things that you go, really, he was involved with that? Things that themes that you know from way back, you had no idea he was associated with. For example, Peter Gunn. I had no idea that was John. So all sorts of weird and wacky things. Now he could turn his hand to pretty much anything. I think he is the exception to the rule. I don't think anybody and everybody can do what John did. So give them a project, let them do the very best with it, but don't expect to keep coming back and back and back to the same person, because I don't think it's fair on them, to be honest, because they will have some duff ones in there.
Like Ludwig Göransson did something unique for The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
It seemed wrong not to have him involved in the soundtrack for the movie.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But that's very much linked anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry?
Your video has frozen, but I can still hear you, so we're going to carry on.
And I'm getting the same from you, so this is all good.
Yay. Technology.
Yay. We'll pretend it's all going. Yeah. We'll pretend it's all going well.
Yeah. And Mr. Neil said nobody has the musical grounding Williams had.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. To me, he's up there with the likes of Mozart and Bach and all the well-known sort of classical composers. He is a classical composer. It just runs through his veins, doesn't it?
Just the sheer number of Oscar nominations he's had, like no one's ever going to come close to anything like that. Doesn't matter what field you're in.
No, it's a ridiculous achievement.
Yeah. He's I think the simple conclusion to the question is he's irreplaceable.
Yeah.
His work is going to stand the test of time, and it's going to be here as long as Star Wars is.
Yeah.
And we will have other composers come along, and we've kind of got to let them do their own thing.
Yeah, but you can guarantee they will take musical cues from what John's done in the past, and there'll always be like a hint of Vader's theme thrown in or a hint of the main theme. It'll happen, and it needs to, for as a nod of the hat to a nod of the head and a tip of the hat to John.
Yeah. And we've seen some composers come in and do fantastic jobs, like on the Solo movie, for example, as well.
Yeah, which is really, really good. But it doesn't mean that composer will then take on all the Star Wars projects.
Yeah. In many ways, it's quite nice to have a different sounding soundtrack to each project.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And perhaps sometimes, we'll be talking a bit more about the Skeleton Crew shortly. From what little bits we've heard on the trailer, it sounds like they've gone down a very different route with the music for that. And why not? It doesn't have to always be orchestra based.
Yeah. Perfect timing when we're talking music.
Hello there, Mando number 5. Well, maybe we could get Mambo number 5 there. Yeah.
Mr. Newbold chipping in there as well. John Powell, closest successor, his work in Solo was magnificent. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. It was absolutely spot on, and it felt like a John Williams composition as well. But whether that's something that should be encouraged or avoided, I don't know. John is just sort of like so revered. Do you really want people trying to sort of emulate his success?
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah. On that basis, I think we move on with the rest of GMT.
Absolutely.
And bring an end to this week's Jabba's Court. And of course, Jabba's Court's part of Good Morning Tatooine. Your weekly recap of all the Star Wars news, live streaming every Sunday at 9 p.m. in the UK, 4 p.m. in New York, and is its own separate series on Fantatrax TV every Wednesday at 7 p.m. So, back to the show, and we've still got lots of news to cover. Next up, we're talking Skeleton Crew. And the final trailer has been released. We've got the key art as well. Show lands 2 episodes on December 3rd. Is your excitement for this show building?
It is now, yeah. It is this final trailer, I take it. Yeah, really looks good. And I love that artwork. And if something I hadn't noticed, the background looks very much like the head of the droid that's going to appear in there. I'm sure that's probably deliberate. It looks like the cross between the droid that's going to appear and a skull. So that looks quite cool.
Yeah. Let's check out the trailer.
What are you in for? What are you in for?
I found something buried in the woods.
Dad.
This is unacceptable. Do you understand?
What do you think it is? Don't touch anything.
What did you do?
We're lost. Really lost.
Stay together. We just need some directions home.
Come on, kid. Pay up. Whoa.
Where'd you two find an old Republic credit?
Over here, quick. I'll get you home. We'll make a partnership. But we have to move fast. I need you to take the controls.
Okay.
Neil? Neil?
A crew of murderous pirates is coming.
Something's wrong.
They're not going to just turn up. We need to find them.
We're not alone down here.
Be warned of booby traps. Pirates and mountains where none dare to go.
If you hear this, don't give up. No matter what.
What do you reckon, Brian?
On with PM113 on YouTube there. We'll see. Jury's still out. Because you can't judge it until you see it. There's elements I like. There's elements I don't. I think it's a little bit too Star Trek Earth. But don't know.
It looks to me a little bit generic at the moment, but I'm more excited to see it than I was. I just hope, and this is where they keep going wrong with a lot of the sequel material, You need to throw into the background some recognizable background characters. We need to see some Rhodians. We need to see some Ithorians. Put those in there, and it automatically draws you into the galaxy. It doesn't need to be in your face. It just needs to be very subtle. But by just and yes, people have got to earn their crust. They've got to create new aliens, etc. But throw some classic ones in there as well. Don't just think you've got to reinvent the wheel. Star Wars isn't about reinventing the wheel. It's about honoring the wheel and moving forward with it.
I think it's got a danger of being a little bit over the top. There's a few lines in there. Jude Law delivered a couple. The pirate droid delivered a few, which sort of borderline cheesy.
Yeah. It's almost like poking the fun at itself, isn't it?
Yeah. As long as it sort of moves away from that a little bit, I can accept a little bit of that. The giant weekly gold head that was very reminiscent of the organ in the Goonies, kind of like that.
Yeah.
Mr. Newbold, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that. There's a Nico in there. That's a start.
Well, yeah.
The Wolfman, I think, is what he's saying.
Yes, yeah. But I think it needs to be ones that automatically jump out at you. I think things with the Nikto is that when they're not wearing certain headgear, the shape of the face doesn't look the same as it did in Jedi. So yeah, you do need to throw some classic aliens in there.
Is Neil going to survive? You suggested he should be shot in the face a couple of weeks back.
I suggested that.
Right.
Did I?
Your words. Your words. I might have said it pre-show, but you were the only ones caught on video saying it.
You'll have to call that clip up. But no, maybe I did. I don't know. I'm just a little disappointed.
Make it more or less likely.
Well, I mean, who am I to talk about hair? But I was a bit disappointed when I found out that he's not the same species as Max Rebo. I mean, that would have been really, really nice if he was, but apparently he's not. A different species altogether. Make him a different color.
So, I kind of agree. It does look more like ET than Star Wars.
Yeah. It does. It's good, especially. Yeah, go on.
I say the mother's Mike Elmentrout from Better Call Saul's daughter.
Oh, is it? All right, okay.
Yes. So that kind of pulled me out a little bit. I was like, oh, look who it is. But yeah, it's got a danger of being too Earth lookalike with the schools in the town. And, but we haven't seen that in Star Wars. So how can we judge at this point in time? Maybe that is reminiscent of what Star Wars does look like.
Yeah, we had Grogu attending a school, didn't we, on Navarro, I think it was, at one point with a protocol droid teacher. That was the closest we got to like a classroom sort of scenario, I think. But in terms of whether they've pushed it too far in this, it does look very much like suburban America.
Yeah,
particularly some of the scenes that were in the first trailer where you've got like manicured lawns and people walking dogs and stuff. It just looks a bit whoa. Yeah, I'm more excited about seeing it now than I initially was. So that's a good thing. Whether it will sit there as a Star Wars thing for me, I don't know. It might. Yeah. It might just be
where Jonathan is in the comments, where he's saying he'll give it a watch and see what happens.
Yeah,
I'm the same. I'm going to watch it because it's Star Wars. I might not be blown away with it, but there's nothing about it so far that makes me think terrible. It just makes me think maybe not for me.
It's not The Last Jedi, is it? So it's we'll give it a go.
Take a lot of doing. Yeah, we did get to see Star Wars Suburban and Andor, where droids got peed on by dogs. So I was up for that.
Yeah, but that was a more gritty sort of reality, wasn't it? That was sort of like suburbia gone wrong.
I could see Neil taking a leak.
Well, look, that's a very, very different film.
We can see what Jude Law's got to say about it.
Yeah.
he's made a comment. Well, first of all, he fought to get a crew cut rather than having to wear a wig, which I thought was kind of interesting. It kind of means he was involved quite early in the development of his character, which is interesting because it probably takes quite a bit of effort to get someone like Jude Law to lead a series.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was impressed when he was announced as being part of the show because he's not the sort of actor that would take something on for just the money. I mean, there's a legacy to everything he's done. So they scored big by getting him on
used
board.
a great word. I don't think I would have dived in willy-nilly.
And anybody that's willing to use willy-nilly is all right by us. So, I mean, from the bits that we've seen of him so far, it does look... hopefully he drives the narrative rather than the kids, but I've got a feeling that the focus is going to be the children. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe his character will go on to do something else beyond this.
That's an interesting possibility, I think. He then got into dangerous territory by commenting about buttons and Velcro and buckles and ties. Doesn't know what he's messing with there. Like, no, we'll skip over that.
There's no buttons in Star Wars.
No. And he made the comment, who says I've got the Force? Well, initially Lucasfilm said you did, and then in the teaser trailer you were using the Force. So that's pretty much a given at this point, Jude. Mr. Newbold, this is a shocking question. Wasn't Willy-nilly the villain in the Goonies? No, One-Eyed Willy was the villain in the Goonies.
One-Eyed Willy-nilly.
He was a hero. The Fratellis were the villains.
They were.
They were.
Although it was a good first album. Yeah.
Yeah. Jodna Nawud, is that how we're pronouncing it? PM
I think so. Yeah, it's a.
Still not sure.
Sounds like a Jedi.
We'll just call him Jod.
I know. It still sounds like a Jedi name, doesn't it?
It's 100%. It's a Jedi name.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no escaping it. We can also see what John Watts has been saying as well. He's been talking about development of the show, how they've gone back to 1920s, 30s pirate serials that they loved, how they had conversations with Dave Filoni about George Lucas's influences and how they've gone back and watched that and tried to incorporate some of that into the series. So they've been incredibly invested in trying to get it to be right.
Yes. I think going way back to the making of Star Wars, there was certainly some clips in there of classic pirate films, and it was clear that George Lucas had been a big fan of those as his matinee shows back in the day. So the lightsaber may never have happened had it not been for pirate films. So it makes sense that at some point in the Star Wars galaxy, we get to see a more piratey pirate, shall we say, than Han Solo was a space pirate, but you don't really think of him as a pirate, not in the same sense that you do with is it Vane? I think the main pirate in this one that was in Mando. So that is more of a classic sci-fi interpretation of a pirate than say Han Solo was. Han Solo to me was more of a scoundrel, a smuggler, not a space pirate. So it will be interesting to see how that translates. And I suppose Vane is the only link really that we know of to an already existing Star Wars property. So I want to make sure that we see some good droids in there. I know you're a big fan of that, Bri. And some hopefully some stormtroopers or whatever. We want to see something that connects it all together. It shouldn't stand alone, otherwise it won't feel like Star Wars.
He also makes an interesting comment about the serene suburbia that we've kind of been criticising a lot.
Yes.
And that he wanted to create a juxtaposition between the scary and dangerous the peaceful and boring. So obviously, when you see that suburbia, he's trying to make it as kind of boring as possible. He's not trying to make it an exciting Star Wars suburbia like we see on Coruscant, where you've kind of got the dangerous underground. He's wanting to make something boring.
It's too twee though in a way. What we've seen so far, I just hope that they skip over that a little bit. I mean, clearly in that trailer we just seen, those kids are in detention for perhaps doing something naughty that they shouldn't have done during a school day or whatever. Yeah,
100% drugs.
Yeah.
They've been doing spice.
You can see it in the eyes. Yeah, it's spice.
That's what I'm going for. Little death sticks.
Little tykes. Those little tykes.
Mr. Newbold making an honest point as well. 90% of the people in the galaxy live and work in normal suburbia. So the road to adventure is going to feel epic for those kids.
Tell you what, he's standing by it. I'll give him his dues. Well done, Mark.
He's well, we'll see if his optimism pays out. I'm kind of slightly optimistic. I think I'm going to watch it and say it's not for me, but it was fine. And I don't think that's a criticism.
No, it's not. No,
I think there's going to be the younger generation of Star Wars fans will probably really enjoy it.
Yeah,
that kind of vibe.
Do you think though over recent years, and this isn't meant to be a negative thing, it's just sort of acknowledging it, that the more, I hate to use the word diverse, but the more diverse that they of the look of people and the age of people that they put into these things just makes it more accessible for people that like to cosplay. So we'll now have a bunch of kids that'll be able to turn up dressed as kids. Whereas like in the past, if a kid dresses up as Luke Skywalker, nothing like Luke Skywalker, he could be anybody. Yeah, I think you're right there, PM113. I think it's certainly got a little bit of lineage from the Ewok adventure. Let's hope the acting's better than the kids were in that. Oh dear.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think it's not necessarily targeted for our age group. I don't think there's going to be anything about it that's going to particularly offend us. I think it's just going to be fine Saturday morning kids TV, which as a grown adult I can sit and watch with a bowl of cornflakes and mildly enjoy.
I think
more so
I suppose
Willoughby was on, less so when it's Aunt and Dick.
I suppose, I mean, one comparison that you could draw, although the kids were a bit older even when the first season happened, is that you can't copy Stranger Things. You can't do something that's going to look too much like that. Although I quite often think that if Stranger Things had been set in a Star Wars galaxy, how cool would that have been? Yeah, I think it'll be a little bit more certificate 15 and certificate 18 in that sense. Yeah, let's give it a go. Let's see what it's like. And pretty much like you, Brian, I imagine I'll like it, but know that it's not aimed at me, and therefore I've not got to sort of like feel too emotionally connected to it. Yeah.
Unless Neil survives, because obviously your hatred for Neil is documented.
Sorry, Neil.
Next up on the news, the really sad news this week of the passing of a Star Wars great and Greg Hildebrandt. And obviously previously lost his brother Tim. And I just thought, as Mr. Newbold brilliantly wrote in Father Tracks, that Greg's going to be joining him. And the great art gallery in the sky, which I thought was great words. I don't think Star Wars exists in the same way today without these two brothers and the way that they portrayed it initially.
The artwork, there's a couple of pieces that are associated with them, but I think I'm right in saying. But for me, I mean, yeah, it was such such a great way to convey to a young audience back in 1977, 78 for us, what you were about to see. And it just, the whole film, the whole feeling of the film is in that artwork. You look at that and you see the whole film. Not every poster does that, but the Star Wars stuff that they came up with, absolutely amazing. Yeah, I mean, he's lived quite a long life. I'm sure he's enjoyed himself, and like Mark says, he can now go and join his brother, and they can dabble in some Star Wars artwork again. So we salute you, sir.
Yeah, I think we've almost lost a little bit the art of the movie poster, and so many today are digitally formed from stills from the film and so on, and they've almost become a little bit paint by numbers, and that so many of them are so similar.
Yeah,
the individuality and the style that the Hildebrandts brought to it's kind of been lost. That talent and skills kind of left the industry.
Or even worse, AI. I mean, there's some stuff that I've seen floating around on Facebook these last few days, which have said Rogue One, and looks nothing like any of the characters that we saw in Rogue One. Clearly AI made, and yeah, I mean, well, never mind. We won't dwell too much on that.
No.
But yeah, a real talent.
Live in forever, and we can enjoy that and celebrate that, and always look back at with great happiness, I think.
Yeah, good memories.
Yeah. And last but not least, and this is a little bit art related as well, in that InkStone Books have started this Essential Legends collection, bringing back some of the most popular Legends books as hardbacks with very unique covers.
Yeah.
And they're ink painted kind of edgings as well, which have become incredibly popular. So they've got 3 that they've announced. Death Troopers, which, we've kind of seen a call back to that in Ahsoka with Thrawn's troopers in there. We have, alongside that, I've got a signed bookplate for the new book, and I'm going to be really careful when I pronounce this because I get it wrong all the time, and I don't want to say it wrong. Star Wars Bestiary, Volume 1.
That actually sounded more like what you were trying to avoid than ever.
I know. I'm trying so hard. You just read the title. It's in big letters. You can get a signed bookplate from the author for that. But I've missed one. Have I?
The first one was in the first part, so that was to do with
Plagueis. Plagueis I've completely missed as well. By James Luceno. Look, a really classic book, and obviously extremely popular at the moment with the Acolyte being out and Plagueis appearing in that, or was it Plagueis peering out the cave? And then people pointing out we're going to be interviewing S.T. Bendy, the author of said third book, whose name I won't repeat. It's going to be on Cannon Fodder. He's trying to help. You're trying to help. Bestiary. It's like I can't say it but say it wrong. I love a bantha, but I've got limits. That's all I'm going to say. Is that a good note to end the show on, Paul?
For what, sorry?
Is that a good note to end the show?
I think that's the absolute definite best place to end the show.
With a great start of the show. Let's end it on a note as well.
This has been so slick. I only hope next week's is slicker.
Should we reveal? So next week we're not going to be live. We've got the weekend off. We're not going to be live, but we're still going to have a show. We've recorded earlier today.
Yeah,
I think it went well.
It went very well. It was very good.
So we're going to broadcast that at the same time next week. But we'll be back. Me and Paul will be back in 2 weeks' time with a live show.
We will.
We'll have all the Star Wars news from the past fortnight. So it could be a big show.
We'll have all the news, all the glitches, all the technical breakdowns.
And before we end the show, happy birthday, Paul.
No. Thank you, mate. Where have you got me? Anything else?
Do we at this point do we do fireworks for our birthday?
Yeah, why not? Let's have some fireworks. Fireworks for my birthday and bonfire night. Woo!
So
cheers.
Jonathan, he's going to be at Comic Con Liverpool next weekend. That looks like it's gearing up to be a great show.
Nice one.
I'm going to be buying a new computer, so these tech problems could be behind us.
We'll see.
But yeah, Paul, thanks for joining me this week. It's been a lot of fun.
Cheers, bro.
We should probably promo everything before we go.
Like what?
Well, we've got a website we could promo.
We have, yes.
Panthertracks.com can get all your daily Star Wars and Lucasfilm news, literally covering every aspect of the franchise, including interviews, event coverage, podcasts, and reviews.
And we've got social media coming out of our ears. We've got Instagram, Facebook, Threads, X, and TikTok, amongst others. And don't forget, Phantom Tracks Radio. There's all sorts of great shows released throughout the calendar month. What have we got coming up next, Brian?
We've also got Phantom Tracks TV. Mr. Newball's going to chime in a second with what's happening podcast-wise. But on Phantom Tracks TV, we've got our pre-taped Good Morning Tatooine next Sunday. We'll have Jabba's Court out in the middle of the week. I'm not quite streaming gaming yet because I've had to order some bits that have gone missing. But I might actually be able to do some live gaming next weekend, since I don't have to do a live show. So we might try that. Mr. Newball's chiming in. Making Tracks episode 208 is out on Tuesday. A special episode of the Phantom Menace panel from FanX Live next Friday as well. Hopefully he'll spell Friday properly in the final discussion of the show.
Well, who'd have thought something would have gone wrong at the end of this show?
I know. He's let us down, Mark. This has been such a slick show, and he's edited it with a spelling mistake. I
mean, right now, I want to shoot him in the face as much as I do Neil.
Yeah.
You know?
He's got one of those side partings as well.
He has. He has.
And on that bombshell, that's the time to end the show, I think. So it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him. Bye.
Keep up to date with the latest Star Wars news each and every day on panthertracks.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, and Pinterest at Fantha Tracks. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and follow Fantha Tracks TV to be alerted to new content and to be a part of our live shows.